Notifications go out. Here we are, Sunday. Let's just chat. That's right. Where it all started on Sundays in the car. Yeah, in the car. When we first started going live regularly on Sundays around 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And it started in the car with the theme, let's just chat, like campfire chat. Just sitting around chatting. And so that's how it all began. And now it turned into an actual regular show that YouTube has coined as a podcast. How about that? Because it's real world stuff. I mean, we're talking about this is God's spiritual truths. And we have another fellow warrior who, yeah, let me make sure I give credit where credit is due here, y'all. Um, And yes, okay. And shout out to Matthew Watson for inspiring today's topic because you're so spot on in the comment on demonic possession is real. Yes, that video is still out there. It's still going because it's true. Demonic possession is very real. And we realize that these human hosts of demon spirits that we refer to as narcissists for simplicity, a lot of them are crept in unawares. And so we have a fellow warrior who said that they get persecuted everywhere they go. And that would be, a Matthew. And I have to tell you, you're not alone. All of God's chosen ones get persecuted wherever we go. We get evil eye. We get a look of hate. We get, oh gosh, yeah. They're always trying to play head game. And it's like I responded and I said, what helps many of us is just simply by remembering it's not us. We're not warring after the flesh. We're not in a physical battle. 2 Corinthians chapter 10. Everybody, there's your homework. But we are not in a physical battle. So when we are out and about, we know what we're up against. The evil of this world. Because we live in a demon-possessed world that we refer to as the narcissistic matrix, which is a control system. So while those notifications are going out, let's go ahead and do our usual check. That we refer to as the narcissist. Okay, there you go. All right, I want you all, I got the chat over here, so don't hesitate to ask questions, share your insight and whatnot. And I thank y'all for hitting that thumbs up. All right, because you know that we speak in God's spiritual truths here. All right, you know it. And when I came across this, put it on my spirit, I said, we need to talk about this. Because it is a fallen world. When I reached out to the Wise Council, okay, there's a fellow minister who has been at this 20 plus years longer than me. And so I reach out to him from time to time when I have questions. I seek wise counsel too, just like y'all do. And so when I reached out to him about some things I was learning while down the rabbit hole, he did tell me, he said, well, so we do live in a fallen world. And when you think about the fallen angels, you think about the devil getting the boot out of heaven, along with a third of his fallen angels. When you think about that, you're like, wow. Then we live in a fallen world. Because it's the devil's playground. This matrix out here is the devil's playground. And knowing that helps us understand better why narcissists in their workplaces, right, they turn their workplaces into playground. Toddlers in adult bodies need a playground, right? Okay, so these toddlers in adult bodies are demonically possessed. And so it's a demon-possessed world out here. And how did that demonic possession occur? We're going to cover that. We're going to cover that because it's a very important part of understanding the spiritual battle for the mind. And that the mind is the battleground. How their mind gets basically their mind gets taken over by demons, demon spirits, and there are many. All of the angel, the fallen angel, 1/3 of the fallen angel, every single negative emotion, spiritual energy in motion. I haven't taught that in a while, but it's true. Think about emotion, spiritual energy in motion. E for energy, motion, spiritual energy transfer, all of that, part of the spiritual battle for the mind. And we come to understand better the more we observe and speak less. That's right. So let me get the formalities out of the way. I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA's Let's Just Chat show, streaming on the YouTube channel. Narcissism and cognitive dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center while combating radio frequencies for healthier living. That's right, because radio frequency poisoning is part of the spiritual battle for the mind. Because radio frequency is used for mind control. Remember that, okay? So it's all part of it, and that's why God gave us that movement, because we do this by making better choices. And then yours truly having go through the detox a third time, like, okay, and learning more about the autonomic nervous system and how it is one of the devil's primary target for manipulation, because that's our inner child. So how does demonic possession occur? Well, subliminal messaging. Think about the tell-lie-vision or tell-a-vision. It's a hypnosis machine. Yes, it is a hypnosis machine. And over time, coupled with that, you have narcissistic abuse being dished out at them too. A lot of them don't know that, because it is passed down from generation to generation to generation. That's why I chose the ones. We are generational curse breakers, and the curse is the trauma bond, especially the trauma bond to the world. Got to break that. 1 Timothy 6 verse 7. We didn't bring anything into this world, surely we're not taking anything out. Have no unhealthy attachments to people or things. Once you do that, it's like, okay. And you continue to walk and live by faith. And you shut out the demon-possessed world. And you stay focused on what God has called you to do. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. And no devil, no man can stop what God has for us. I don't care how hard the devil tries. He ain't got nothing new under the sun, trying to play head games. Okay? But how demonic possession occurs is because over time with the subliminal messaging, and then all of the narcissistic abuse being dished out to the narcissist, they over time, and you can learn about this in Psychology 101, okay? They start to internalize all those negative emotions. They start to tell themselves, the thoughts are spiritual power. What a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So as they internalize those negative emotions, and they put the word I am in front of a negative emotion, they have internalized it. See, you got to understand the power of I am. This is why we changed that thinking, chosen one, being transformed by the renewing of the mind. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am a chosen child of God. I am. Okay, what you put after that matters. Because God tells us, I am all that I am. So you have to be very careful what you put after the I am, because as soon as you do that, boom. So are you. Right? Think about it. When you say, I am hungry, and all of a sudden you're hungry. I kid you not. And so we don't do that anymore. We let God tell us when we're hungry. I'm like, all right, Heavenly Father, you tell me, I'm going to stay busy. Like how Jesus' disciples had to tell him, Master, please sit down and eat. We do the same thing now. We let God tell us. Okay, now it's time to eat. Stop, take a break, get something to eat. But demonic possession for them occurs because they internalize it and then they tell themselves, they say, I am, and then insert negative emotion there. So if they think that they are feeling anxious, then they think they have anxiety. That's the demon of anxiety. If they think they're feeling depressed, they tell themselves that. That's that demon of depression. You've got the demon of envy. You've got the demon of jealousy. You've got the demon of greed. And by the way, y'all, the demon of greed covers way more than just financials. Okay, the demon of greed is attention, materialistic thing. Okay, and the list is long. But you've got the demon of gluttony. You've got the demon of hate. And then, of course, you've got the demon of fear. And the demon of fear is the foundation. So as soon as they start to internalize all those negative emotions, and they say, I am, and then they put that afterwards, well, so are they. And they become demonically possessed because they start to take that all personal. They think it's all personal. They think it's all about them. Then they develop the entitlement mindset. Whatever position, status, or title this demon-possessed matrix has given them, they let it go to their head. And so that's the mark of the beast, is a mindset. It's spiritual, y'all, not a physical thing. I talk more about the mark of the beast on the Patreon channel. Yes, God revealed that to me because I said it just don't make sense, all these false narratives, all these fear-mongering narratives about the mark of the beast going around. I said, well, if that was going to be the chip in our debit card, then we all be doomed by now. It ain't that. No. Because it ain't got nothing to do with buying and selling of materialistic items. It's the buying and selling of souls. Remember, the mind is the battleground, and I quote, once again, the late artist Prince. He said, the mind is the battleground, and the prize is the soul. Only narcissists with the ism mindset, that entitlement mindset, they're the only ones that have the permission, if you will, from a demon-possessed world to buy and sell souls. Ain't got nothing to do with materialistic stuff. It ain't got nothing to do with buying groceries. It ain't got nothing to do with buying anything materialistic at all. It's highly, everything about it is spiritual. Okay, it's about the buying and selling of souls. When you read about that in the Bible, the mark of the beast, it is spiritual. It is, right, it is the ism mindset. It's that entitlement mindset. The devil knows that. Come on. Why do you think you have all those commercials that tell you to call this number and see if you are in and get what you deserve, or call and make sure you get all the money you're entitled to? Those are subliminal messages, y'all. And so that what happens to them is over time, they start to develop that ism mindset, and then whatever position, status, or title they think that they get special treatment for, there you go. See, chosen ones, we don't do that. We wear many hats. Yes, we've got many positions and titles and a status. What's our status? Okay, we are chosen children of God. And we are kingdom family, and we are all, okay, we are all. Well, you know, it has been said, but yes, royalty in the kingdom of God. And that's not being narcissistic. It's just that God has favor of his chosen one. I know you would think, what? Favoritism? It's not favoritism. God has favor. In other words, everything works out in our favor. That's what that means. Everything, because of God. Everything works out in our favor. Because God takes what the devil dishes out and flips it for his glory. So everything always works out in our favor. Everything always works out in the end, no matter what we go through to get there. That's what that means. That's what it means when you say when God's favor is on his chosen one. what that means. It's not being on a pedestal or anything like that. It just means that things work out as they're supposed to in our favor. So remember that. But it is a demon-possessed matrix because of the demonic possession. The human host of the demon spirit who have internalized all those negative emotions. And so over time, that's what happens to them. They have sold their soul when they develop that love of money that comes with a scarcity mindset. That scarcity mindset of always living in fear of running out of things, living in fear of losing things, living in fear of abandonment, living in fear. They develop that scarcity mindset, which is another form of the love of money. Yes. Okay? There's nothing wrong with clipping coupons, but why are you doing it? Exactly. Most of the time, be like, well, just to see, because we're on a budget. Okay, that's fine. But what's that subconscious mind think about that? Right. Are you thinking about how much money you think you'll save? Because if that's the case, that's the scarcity mindset. Because the truth is, out here in that demon-possessed matrix, you ain't saving nothing. Let me say that one more time for the people in the back. In the demon-possessed matrix out here, you ain't saving nothing. They give off the illusion that you're saving 25 cents. In a lot of ways. Oh, yeah. Because it's a make-believe world. So they make this stuff up. But then you also have those of us who actually do the math. So for like at CHA Academy, we have the membership. If you choose the annual option, you do save 25%. Because the monthly option, I did the math. Okay? It's a legit thing. So you have to use that discernment. But there's a lot of things out there in that matrix that are priced a certain way to make you think, to give off the illusion that you are actually saving money when you're not. So you can clip that coupon all you want to. But you're doing it because you have a budget. That's fine. But make sure you ain't doing it for the love of money and thinking that you're saving money all the time. That's for somebody right there. If you think that you're saving money all the time when you shop or what have you, and you're doing things thinking that you need to save because the world teaching you that you need to save. I'm not saying don't save. What's the subconscious mindset behind it? Where's the heart at with it? Where's the priorities at with that? Because we got to get rid of that scarcity mindset and develop the abundant mindset. With the abundant mindset, we ain't even thinking about that. I don't even look at it. Listen, if I need to go get something, I'm going to be straight up with y'all. Because I know a lot of this stuff out here is made up. Now, if I go and I see something that, and it's like, okay, yes, well, I'd like to have this, but I can tell it's ridiculously priced a little too high. I'll wait for it to come back down, because it will. Because that's what they do out here. They manipulate. That whole inflation thing, it's all part of the demonic matrix. The demon world out here, the demon-possessed world. It's part of the game of narcissism to manipulate those prices, to keep people confused, and then also deceived from getting anything that they might want. So jack the prices up way high. People are less likely to buy it unless they're desperate, if it's ridiculous. But now if it's a few dollars higher than usual, I don't balk at that. I'm like, okay, you know what? Well, all right, this is something I need to go with this recipe or whatever. Because I know that something else that I buy is gonna be reduced in price. You ain't really saving nothing. So, I use my discernment, but I'm also like, okay, because I know that even if it's a couple dollars or $3 more than what I would usually spend on something like that, I know the abundance behind it. That's why. I'm like, oh, okay, so let's say a pound of hamburger meat. Depending on what else I have, I'm going to get at least 4 meals out of that. And those 4 meals can span over a 2-week period. I've got other stuff like steak and chicken and things like that. So I'm good. So I see the abundance, because that's what I'm thinking when I shop now, abundance. I know how long, I'm learning also how long a lot of things actually last yours truly. So we're not done yet. We're on this journey together. But how we navigate through the demon-possessed matrix out here. So yeah. And, okay, so demons are thought energy. Well, you can, well, okay, when you, yeah, negative thoughts, because think about it. Negative emotion, negative spiritual energy, emotion. Thoughts are spiritual power. So yeah, that's a great way to summarize it. Your thoughts are spiritual power. The demon spirit are all negative emotion, spiritual energies, emotions. So yeah, demon can be thought energy, absolutely, but negative ones. Okay, got to remember that. And yes, I am is accepted more easily by the subconscious mind. That's why God says, what a man thinketh in his heart, because your heart is in the subconscious mind. Okay? It's spiritual. The heart, your heart desires. That's spiritual, y'all. I mean, I understand biology and all of that. You know, we have a physical heart that does it's way more than just a pump, y'all, by the way. I found this truth on TikTok. And I said, yep, I get it. Your heart is full of that spiritual energy. It's like it's a magnet inside. That's why we tell y'all, watch that excess salt, because radio frequency poisoning, watch that excess salt. Sure, if you're active, you're going to want to replenish your electrolyte, yeah, but you got to watch that excess. Talk about don't eat it like candy. And so, yeah, is accepted very easily by the subconscious mind. That's right. So that's why we tell you all, positive affirmation. Positive affirmation. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am a chosen child of God. I am positive affirmation. Okay, I am positive. I am happy. I am this positive affirmation. Okay, speaking life over yourself, because we know that God said the power of life and death is in the tongue. The devil knows that too. So trick them into saying that they are this, that, and the other negative demon spirit, then that's what happens to them. They become demonically possessed. They sell their soul for their position, status, and title. A lot of people think that they're out here selling their soul for money. Nope. Nope. They are selling their soul for the position, status, or title that they let go to their head. I know that's going to be a new one. You're like, wait, what? Yeah, you think that these artists that, you know, we learned down in the rabbit hole that you have a lot of artists who have sold their soul, but it ain't for the money. Now, they might think it is, but the reality behind the selling of souls, or the forfeiting of, if you will, the reality is they did it for position, status, and title. To receive the demon-possessed matrix's special treatments for the position, status, and titles. The chosen ones, we don't go around looking for that. Just because I'm a trauma specialist doesn't mean I'm going to walk in somewhere and say, hey, what kind of discount can a trauma specialist give? I don't care. I'm a minister, right? So I am a minister. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I am a minister. So I'm not, but I don't go around saying, hey, what kind of ministry discount can I get? I can look into some things as far as what might be available to help fund this ministry, but I'm not going to go out there with the mindset of thinking I'm not entitled to anything except, what a man, right, what a man sows is what a man reaps. That's it. That's all we're entitled to, really. Some call it karma. That's easy to understand. And it is the only thing that we're entitled to. What we put out, what we receive. I know, we don't ask to be abused by narcissists, okay? That's not what we're talking about, because we don't put that out. But the devil does that, because it's a spiritual battle for the mind. And so the devil keeps doing that. The devil keeps trying he's trying to get you to give up and give in. He wants you to give up and give in. He wants you to sell your soul for a position, status, or title. That's what he wants. Because the spiritual battle ain't for money, y'all. That matrix can print out money anytime it wants to, and it does. When you go to apply for a mortgage, the bank don't have $250,000 just sitting there for you. They pull it out of the air. And they're charging you interest on money that didn't exist in the first place. Yeah, well, that's stupid. Chosen one, we do not continue to be deceived over and over again. A bank issues you a credit card. Okay. They don't have that $3,000 until you start paying back the money you spent that never existed in the first place, plus interest. Now the bank's going to get $3,000 they just loaned you on a credit card. All right. Wakey, wakey. That demon-possessed world is full of illusion. So, this is why chosen ones we learn, we don't live in fear. Okay? Because perfect love casteth out all fear. Glory be to God. Okay? So, keep that in mind. And exactly, thank you, Chris. The love of money is the root of all evil. Because, how many times do you see the narcissist? What's one of the top things that everybody is always fighting about? Exactly. What's the one thing that the demon-possessed world out here will use as a weapon of punishment or to play head games? Money. That's why when sometimes you go and apply for a personal loan, they string you along for a little bit. Yeah, I had one do that. I knew they weren't serious about actually giving this ministry any help. I knew they weren't serious. I could tell by the pattern of narcissism. I said, I see what they're doing. They're trying to future fake. But they were also trying to rush me into doing right, because I did my own taxes. Yeah, it's not hard when you can follow instruction. After all, it is my business, my ministry. I got the numbers. I just need to know where to put them. And I was able to do that by using an online software that walked me through it. I printed out the paperwork as a draft so I know what I'm looking at. But yours truly did our own. But I wasn't going to let them rush me. They were trying to rush me. Because if you rush, you make mistakes, right? But that's the demon-possessed world out there. And they thought that by doing that they were going to somehow trick me into feeling disappointed or let down or whatever. I'm like, no. Because I was like, you know what? We got a plan. We got a plan. We're working it. We're working while we wait until we can put that plan in action. That's all. That's all. And that place that did that, we ain't going to need them anyway. All right? We ain't going to need them anyway. So, that being said, it's all part of the head game. Because it's all for the love of money on their end. And so they go around with that demon of assumption, and they think that anybody who is applying for a loan or a credit card or whatever, they think we have the love of money as well. No, we don't. No, we don't. God first. And, having the love of money also result in hoarding things. Yeah, keeping things that no longer serve a purpose. That's why I teach y'all that when you come across something in your possession, and it's been sitting there for weeks, months, maybe even years, and you're like, man, am I even wearing that anymore? Am I even using that for anything? And if the answer is no, then it's already served its purpose. It's got to go. Got to clean out the clutter in the kingdom of God. Yeah, the kingdom of God don't like clutter. God is the God of organization. So that's what we do. If we come across something in our possession and it no longer serves the kingdom, it got to go. Whether we donate it or trash it, whatever the case may be. And so, the fear of loss, that's the big part of the scarcity mindset right there. Absolutely, 100%. And then thank you for bringing up the lottery. Okay, yeah, the love of money and wishful thinking and gambling and speculating. Absolutely. 100%. And that's a big one. Because one thing that we've come to learn about the demon-possessed world out here, the matrix, that narcissistic matrix, is that, all these deceptions, you can't put it past narcissists to, because of the love of money. Let's say they gotta show you that people win, or you wouldn't play the lottery, right? They gotta show you that. They gotta show you sometimes people win, right? Okay, well, they got to play their part. So what stopped them from saying, hey, you know what? We got to make this look real. So, they go and they find somebody who has the love of money and hey, we'll give you $1,000, or better yet, $500. $500 is a decent amount of cash just to stand there and take a picture with your name on a check that says 1 million. Yeah, because you hear the story shortly after that within 3 to 5 years, somebody who actually wins the lottery runs out of all their funds. I'm like, if you got $1 million, how do you do that? Well, I guess if you've got the love of money and you just aren't good with it, okay. But it was just like, hold up a second. And then I started wondering about, I said, nah, it don't make sense. But I would definitely consider that, those people get paid to stand up there and say that they won X amount of money when they really didn't. They just got paid a little bit to stand there with a picture with a check. Because the devil has to make his lies look believable. And that's how that rolls. Once I learned that, I used to play just for fun. I never really expected to win, to be honest with you. And then I learned about that and I said, oh, well, that makes sense. And so, yes, when you attach a positive or a negative to the I am, that makes all the difference in the world. In the spiritual battle for the mind, absolutely. What you tell yourself about yourself is very important. You better believe it. And then Chris is asking, are we entitled to our inheritance from God? Well, it's not an entitlement thing. It's God's promise. We're going to get it. We're going to get our inheritance from God. That's a given. Not because of any kind of entitlement, no. But because of our hearts. I don't feel entitled to God's inheritance. No, it's just I know God promises it. So God's going to keep it. So there is no, like I said, the only thing that we are entitled to is sowing what we, reaping what we sow. That's it. That's it. And so, right, the old bait and switch. Yes, I got your comment on the Patreon channel about that too. Yeah. Yeah, that's how yours truly ended up with this room, that bait and switch technique. Yeah. Patterns of narcissism right there. The bait and switch. And then, well, yeah, and you would think clever money tricks by the banks, but that's been, gosh almighty, that's been, man, that's been going on like that for ever since the first bank was open. So it's just kind of like, okay, but a lot of us, we didn't know that at the time. We didn't know that that's what was going on. We didn't, we like, a lot of us, I mean, we didn't know. We thought that banks, that's where you keep your money, right? So you go get a loan from the bank. We think that the bank actually had that. Now we know better. They actually don't. Not until you start paying that loan back. But they like to play with you based on your credit score. Yeah, I know. Isn't that something, that demon-possessed world out here, right? Yeah, like here in the U.S. Part of the game of narcissism is that they, they're the one, they're the one managing our credit score, but yet over trillions of dollars in debt. Yeah, I'm like, okay, how's that supposed to work? Because in order for, in the demon-possessed world, in order for anyone to really get anything, you have to have a decent credit score, but that's being determined by agencies that contribute to the country's trillion-plus dollars in debt. I know, when I learned that, I thought, oh my gosh. Anyhow, so, and that's the other thing, that root of all evil, that love of money. And that's why God tells us that the love of money is the root of all evil, because like you said, that is one big reason for divorces, aside from adultery, aside from adultery, is money. And yours truly is still detoxing. So thank you for your patience. It is what it is. And, but yeah, that is one primary reason for divorces is the love of money. Yep. Yeah, it's part of the game of narcissism where they invite you to apply for a credit card, for a loan, whatever. They're like, hey, you're invited to apply, or they tell you that you're pre-qualified and for up to a certain amount, but then they only give you chump change. Right. I don't need your chump change. We're good. So, and that's it. Thank you for the demon of impatience. Yeah. Right, get it now with credit. Why save when you can get it now? Ponzi schemes. Yep, Ponzi scheme. Yeah, oh yeah, those are still pyramid schemes. There you go. Yeah, they're still very, very, very rampant. That's why I tell y'all, pay attention, because there's a lot of those out there, and those are designed to fall. Those are not designed to make you wealthy at all. No, just to keep a couple people at the top until the whole thing crumbles. So keep that in mind. But yeah, our credit plays on the demon of impatience. You're very correct about that. Because, yeah, get it now, why wait? Yeah, it sure does. And it feeds into the trauma bond to the world as well, because it keeps you walking by sight and desiring all those materialistic items that you don't need. So keep that in mind. But yeah, the demon-possessed world out there. So anytime we go out to navigate through it to get what we need to do the perfect will of God, well, we got to stay vigilant and aware and remember that it's our light that they want to dim. It's the Jesus spirit in us that they're persecuting, not us. So I thank y'all for hitting the thumbs up. That's right. I know there's at least one or two that pop in here, and I don't know. It's quite intriguing that you sit and watch the entire live and you don't give it a thumbs up. So God sees you, and I see you, Jezebel. How you doing? I rebuke in the name of Jesus. See, I know what they're looking for. They want to see how we're doing. We're doing fine, thank you. Because they want to see if their handiwork is paying off. No, it's not. Jeremiah 30, verse 17. So let me go ahead and give y'all an update. All right, since the Jezebels like to pop in and see how we're doing. We're doing fine. We've got our weight training going, and I've got short workout clips available on the Patreon channel for those who are interested. And I've also got short cooking demos. We're gonna get back to that. All right, thank you for your patience. We'll get back to that. I had to go through a short season of regrouping and things like that, but we are in a season of business trips. Yep, we are in a season of business trips. And we are just, yes, we are really just one day at a time. But are we dependent on any, like, medical doctors? Nope. I have one. His name is Jesus. And then if I need to go see, I have some holistic and homeopathic practitioners I have located if the need arises. But I always ask God first. I know how to ice pack. We know about the all-natural remedies called Boswellia, frankincense, and then arnica for bruising. We know all about that. But is there any major... There has not been. That's the thing. Because we don't dwell on it. We take note of where there might be a little discomfort, and we know that that is an area that just needs a little more self-care. That's it. That's it. But we have not had to take anything like, no, we're not doing it. I've not, no. Ever since I learned that those things are nothing but chemicals, like all the other kinds of pain relievers and stuff out there, all natural herbs. That's it. All natural herbs. 100%. So the Jezebels that are checking in to see how we're doing, what you tried, no weapon formed against thee shall prosper. And not only that, never forget Psalm 105:15, where God says, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. Glory be to God. See, God is in full control. And that's the thing with these narcissists. If they continue to underestimate the power of God, chosen one, we don't do that because we can't even fathom. It is beyond our belief. But I just go ahead and give y'all that update. I just have to let them know. God told me to. He said, let them know. They can think what they want. They can see what they think they see. We know all about it. And we know that bruises heal. So, I don't know if I would call it like a mini apartment. No. No. It's not. But, okay. So, a little Okay, a little bit of and more here. We'll keep it going. All right. Recently, a well-known scientist describing gravity is the Earth accelerating. How? How can the Earth be accelerating in every direction at the same time? This would work if the Earth is flat, but not if the Earth is round. It's not possible. Well, now, I'm okay. There's some details missing there. Because I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Describing gravity is the Earth accelerating. Yeah, how? Because accelerating is moving quicker, right? Accelerating is going faster, going up. Is he supporting that the Earth, well, we know that the Earth is flat, but they think it's round. But yeah, accelerating means going up. How? Because when you think of what we were taught that gravity is, we were taught that gravity pulls downward. So how does that work, right? Trying to say that gravity is the Earth accelerating, but yet gravity is the motion of pulling down. Or I'm just, that's why gravity don't exist. Y'all, gravity ain't real. No. I learned that down in the rabbit hole, so I don't know, but gravity ain't real. No. No. Maybe giving himself away without saying it. I mean, I don't know. If the Earth is flat, it can accelerate upward, but that's still not gravity. It's still not gravity. You can feel object being pulled toward the ground. Well, that's magnetic. That's called radio frequency. Metals. That's why I said gravity don't exist. It's all frequency related. Energy, frequency, vibration. Exactly. That's what it is. Energy, frequencies, vibration. Think about a magnet, right? When you put a magnet on the refrigerator or wherever it is that it will magnetize to. That's that pull, right? It's a magnetic pull. Very much like spiritual energy. We can feel the pull of spiritual energy. It's not quite that strong like a magnet, but we can sense it. It's a different kind of magnetic pull. But when you think of a magnet that goes on the fridge or the car or wherever you put your magnet, it's pretty strong, right? Okay, so anything that you can feel being pulled down, object-wise, what have you, think about the Earth Flow Rumble. I talk about the Earth Flow Rumble on the Patreon channel as well, but let me give y'all this, because it ties right in line with radio frequency poisoning. Okay? Because that Earth Flow Rumble, at first I thought it was just a low frequency, but no. It's actually a high and low frequency together that is supposed to keep at least a thin layer of sweat trapped in your skin. It's supposed to keep that salt water. Bzzz. I can hear it right now. Yes. Okay? So when I hear the Earth Slow Rumble, and I was like sitting here going, hold on a second. But yeah, it is. It's a high and low frequency together, and it's supposed to, if you've got the excess salt in your skin trapped there, that sweat trapped, then it's supposed to keep that warm enough to keep your nerves enough numbed, and you're not supposed to know it. You're not supposed to know that that's what's happening. That's part of the mind control. It's part of the radio frequency poisoning. Yeah. Because I was trying to figure out, I said, okay, so when you have all these other things out of the way, let's say you have no injuries, you have no bruises, you have no nothing, what is it that can still be electrocuted? Excess salt water in the body trapped in the skin. That's what can be zapped. Okay, well, that being said, once you remove all frequencies, any kind of exposure to radio frequencies that would affect that negatively, what do you have left? The Earth's low rumble. That is very much like the high and low frequency of some air conditioners inside, like hotel rooms, things like that. They have the high-low frequency together because that, over time, if it can get a hold of anything salt related in the head, then it would numb the head, and then it would manipulate your audio, manipulate your sight. It would and then try to keep that thin layer of salt water trapped in the skin, hoping that you won't sweat it out. So that when you go out and about, that is what'll get zapped for mind control. Pay attention to this stuff. So, it feels like a magnetic, right? Like the car accelerating when you're pushed back into your seat. I got you. Yeah, that's that magnetic pull. And so the Earth's core has a massive amount of iron. Exactly. So everything trying to get to the core, but the Earth's crust gets in the way. Well, yeah. And what is iron? A metal salt. So what's in the Earth's crust? Sand and dirt and all that got salt in it. What is salt? A magnet for radio frequency. What does radio frequency do? Oftentimes it puts out sound. That's right. So, I mean, it all ties into our movement combating radio frequencies for healthier living. See, because once you can hear that, oh yeah, once you can hear that, then it's got to let you go. It's got to let you go. You're aware of it now. That's why I tell y'all all the time, once you become aware of one of the tactics that the devil and the Matrix are using for radio frequency poisoning, for mind control and that, once you're aware of it, you break the connection. Because now you know. You're aware of it. So the intended negative effect is not going to happen. Because you're aware of it. That's why I tell y'all, you want to learn about your ANS. Okay, if you do, I mean, because it happens, life happens, but if you do have any minor injuries or maybe a few bruises, pay attention next time you go into Walmart and see what that area of your body is doing when it goes bleep, 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 bleep at the register. Pay attention to it. If it's in your leg, what's your leg doing? Is that nerve jumping? Oh. There's your level of awareness. Just went up. It's because of it's the frequency, the high frequency. That tells you, if it's a high frequency like that, that tells you, oh, there's some mercury there. Okay? Or aluminum. Aluminum responds to both high and low. Mercury is more responsive to the high frequencies. So you have to keep that in mind. Our bodies is metal salts all around us. And then, of course, what they put in the food. And then the air. And, of course, the water. But we have bottled water and filtered water. So keep that in mind. But, yeah, minerals and salts and things like that. And of course, so wherever there's salt, there's magnet for radio frequency, for heat, to give off heat. Think about asphalt. Remember the word salt is in asphalt? Okay, duh. That's not a coincidence. So when you think about it, the asphalt out here in the sun, right? The hot sun. I realized this too. I said, oh my goodness. I said, I'm out there one day on my walk. And there's some that's concrete and then there's some that's asphalt. And so it's not hot outside. The sun's shining. It's warm, but it's not hot. And the air, when it was, right, the breeze was a cool breeze. It wasn't cold. It wasn't hot. It actually felt nice. But when I got to walking on the asphalt, that's where I felt the heat. The heat was rising off of the asphalt. It wasn't in the wind. It was coming off of the asphalt. Because the salt, the magnet for the heat, the sun, boom. right? And so when you think about the interior of a car, we're led to believe that the darker cars tend to attract more heat. And there's truth to it, yeah. Because, like, my car is black with a gray interior. You would think a gray interior would, well, it doesn't. It gets pretty daggone hot in there. But think of all the salt that are in the material used to make that vehicle. And then think about the paint. Paint contains metal salts. Salts are a magnet for radio frequency, for heat. Because the devil is obsessed with heat. I talk more about that on the Patreon channel too. So there you go. Rocks are full of minerals. That's right. That's right. And when you think about a rock, you look at it, and it's got a gritty, salty feel to it, right? Just more food for thought for y'all in the demon-possessed world that we live in. So you can see the salt bleeding through the car paint. Yeah, that metallic look. You can sometimes see that. Absolutely, yes, you can. Especially if the sun hits it just right. Yeah, you sure can. All right, everybody. So there you go. But just don't let narcissists, okay? Especially as the paint ages. You got that right. You got that right. And, but don't let these narcissists out here get to you. They're demonically possessed biological beings. We are navigating through a demon-possessed world, aka narcissistic matrix, I like to call it, because that's what it is. The game of narcissism on the world stage. And, when that sinks in, you realize that matrix and stuff, the devil don't care what we're doing, y'all. He don't care that we got a ministry going. The only thing he has is head game, and the only thing he's after is our health. That's it. Our mental and physical health. That's all he's after. He wants to psych us out, and he wants us to become dependent on man instead of staying dependent on God. He wants to stress out the autonomic nervous system, the ANF. That's what he wants to do. He wants to get the ANF living in fear, because he knows that that's what worked before. That's what used to work in the past. Get the ANF to live in fear, eventually we follow. Now, the difference with chosen ones is we never did live in fear 100%. Oh, we didn't know any better at the time when they would put out certain fear-mongering messages certain times of the year, like for storms and stuff like that. So we didn't know anything else. So yeah, that got us. I know it got me a little bit hyped up from time to time, but not anymore. I don't even pay attention to that stuff, because we know that they engineer the weather using radio frequencies. So there you go. All right, everybody. So you keep on keeping on. Again, thank you for hitting the thumbs up. And yeah, I look forward to seeing more fellow spiritual warriors for Christ joining us in our growing community here at Consulting for Heightened Awareness, CHA, a ministry that specializes in narcissistic abuse and trauma recovery with God's wisdom, basic scientific facts, tried and true techniques, and more. Sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your continued support. Till next time, show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father, and you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.